Alrighty, welcome back to the episode of Two Plane Sports. Today is Monday, May 29th, Memorial Day, and Brandon has decided to join us, grace us with his presence. He's had a couple of really fun games of watching some NBA basketball. So tonight is Game 7, and Brandon is extremely excited and hopeful for his Miami Heat going up to Boston for a clean, fair, evenly officiated game. So we're looking for a good one tonight. I think the Celtics should take care of business, and Brandon I think agrees with me that they'll take care of business. Is that correct?
I don't think that the Heat will have any chance
Perfect. Awesome. All right.
because
So
of the officials. Just want to point that out. The officials will make sure the Heat do not have a chance.
yes, true. All right. So if you're new here, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below, and we're shooting for 200 likes on this video. So it takes 2 seconds. Hit the like button, subscribe, turn the notification bell on. When you do that, it helps us out a ton. So today's episode, Oklahoma's hosted a couple of JUCO defensive backs earlier this week, and which kind of is interesting and something to definitely talk about. OU made a top 5 for a defensive end player out of Minnesota. Sammy Brown, the number 1 linebacker, basically announced his 5 official visits, and we're going to have some thoughts on that. And then also, I think we might have found Brandon's new favorite player, Terry Bussey. He has announced his 2 official visits to Oklahoma and Texas. None others so far. I'd imagine he'll go elsewhere. And then we're going to be talking a little OU softball. That was quite a game and quite a way to get sent off to the
We just
women's
open the
college
show
boards.
with that because to me, it's ridiculous that team is not being talked about to open the show. First of all, they set a D1 softball record, winning 48 in a row. Huge. Congratulations to them for that. But the manner in which they did so, especially their last game at Marita Hines Field, everything on the line. To be losing by 3 runs in the last inning and then bring 2 runners to be losing by 3 and you get 2 runners on, and then Kenzie Hansen comes to the dish and ties it up with 1 swing, makes it, 7-all. That shit's crazy, guys. And I don't think that I was going to make sure we talk about that first, because I think it's disrespectful to not, because that is that's very, very impressive to set the D1 softball record, but especially in that fashion, to be losing by 3 runs in the very last inning and to come back and win it like that. That's hats off to that team. Hats off to Patty Gasso. I think it's very impressive. I think we should open the show with that.
It was really impressive. I mean, the fact that, and also they threw up the graphic where like the longest winning streaks in the last couple of years, Oklahoma has 3 of the top 7 longest winning streaks in the last 3 years.
They made winning 40 games in a row like a thing. Like it's not uncommon anymore, I guess. But you have to open the show with that. They're very impressive. Can't wait to watch their postseason run.
Very good. That's really that's all I can add. It's a historic run. Hopefully they can finish it off with a chip.
Yeah, and speaking of that, so at this time we're recording Sunday evening, and I'm pulling it up right now to see who's in Oklahoma's bracket. It's Oklahoma, Tennessee, Alabama, and Stanford that are in the region, or I guess bracket 1, and then you've got Florida State, Oklahoma State, Washington, and Utah. Washington, I know, is not in our bracket, but they are playing really, really good softball right now. They're going to be interesting. Tennessee took care of business against Texas pretty comfortably. So it's going to be interesting to see. Oklahoma plays on Thursday at 1:30, I want to say. That's when they play. So I don't know. I mean, it'd be kind of fun to play Oklahoma State in the championship and take care of business and 2-0 them and send them home to Stillwater after we win our 3rd straight. So
that was fantastic. I can get behind that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, team looks unstoppable. Jordy Ball came in at the end of that game and pitched really well.
Lights out.
Yeah, she was. I mean, obviously Kenzie Hansen is the MVP or whatever in that game, but Jordy Ball, the way she pitched at the end, that's pretty impressive. So, team's good. the Alabama of softball, basically. Patty Gasso is the GOAT. So, all right, so we'll go to football, and we'll start talking about some recent JUCO visits. So first of all, I might butcher this name, Sion Lolele, 6'4", 185-pound cornerback out of San Mateo, the College of San Mateo in San Mateo, California. JUCO kid, ended up taking his official visit to Oklahoma. I assume an official visit to Oklahoma. He recently received an offer from OU on the 18th of this month. Came out, made a visit, posted a video on social media. I mean, from the outside looking in, it looks like it went halfway decent. He's got an official. He went to Utah, or he's going to Utah, excuse me, and then he's also going to Penn State. So I'm not sure if these are his top three: OU, Penn State, and Utah. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, I like where Oklahoma sits, and we might as well lump them together. His JUCO teammate Demetrius Freeney, out of the same school, out of College of San Mateo, 6'1", 185-pound cornerback. He recently received his offer and then took an official visit to Oklahoma this past weekend as well. But he has Colorado, Houston, and Louisville lined up after and before and after this Oklahoma visit. But it seems like it's a two-horse race between Colorado and Oklahoma for him. So, Jose, I'll start with you with both those corners. I just hope Oklahoma goes 1 for 2 with them.
Yeah, both these guys are really impressive players. What stands out the most, and probably just to everyone, if you've looked up who these guys are, is Sion Laule, or however it's pronounced, 6'4", like you mentioned, big dude, and going to the SEC, going to be playing against much bigger receivers, and it's been one of the Achilles' heels for this defense. How can you stop a bigger receiver? They don't really have really talented yet bigger corners. Maybe he's going to be a guy that will help out with Jacoby Johnson coming in. Kari Vickers is a bigger guy, and kind of start that trend for Oklahoma now that they'll be in the SEC for sure in 2024. With Demetrius, I don't know. It's hard to say that Oklahoma is a front runner for sure because you're going up against Colorado. And for a corner to turn down Deion Sanders, that's going to have to be a big task. Not that Jay Bly can't do it. I think if any coach in the country is going to do it, it's going to be him. But it won't be easy because why would not go play for one of the best corners of all time, both at the college level and at the professional level, and kind of jumpstart a program? I'm sure that's how they're selling it. I don't know about the NIL stuff. Maybe that's going to play a factor, but Oklahoma's got a chance for both. I don't understand why we're going after more corners, but it's good to have options, I guess.
I'm all about Sion Laue. That dude's tape jumps off the page at you. And plus, like Jose said, first of all, I agree with that more than anything. The dude is 6'4". To play defensive back, I think that's huge. You think going back to recent memory, Lil Jordan, his dumbass name, shredding Oklahoma, being a 6'5" receiver at Texas. Think of the Texas Christian kid who's also 6'4", 6'5", mossing our DBs in the end zone. You land a kid like Sion Laule, that should be eliminated. He should be able to match up with them from a physical standpoint. And that's the kind of, you want to eliminate big receivers doing it to you, especially at the SEC, like Jose alluded to. I mean, and the kid's good. He's not big. He's all over the field as far as covering dudes. He's played very good zone coverage, played very good man-to-man. I think he would eliminate a lot of issues for Oklahoma defensively in the passing game. Plus the guys like Jacoby Johnson. I think, it's time to start putting 6'2" and up corners out on the field. I think that's going to help a lot moving forward at a higher level of college football in the SEC. So I'm all about that. Hopefully we land him. And just, eliminate those guys like Lil Jordan. I mean, how many times did we hear Lil Jordan's name called on a broadcast and have to hate every second of it because that's the worst name of all time? You have to watch the worst name of all time shred this defense. Hopefully we eliminate that in the future.
Yeah, and Jose, why
Jordan?
Huh?
Just name your kid Jordan.
Yeah. I think part of the reason why they're going after at least one or two guys is because they've lost Burt and Damon Harmon. So 2 out, you might as well bring 1 in potentially to kind of fill some depth. And when you kind of look at the depth in the defensive back room, I mean, not only did you lose those 2, you also have Eric McCarty, freshman, but tore his ACL. Then you look, and then you've got, Gentry Williams. Hopefully, he's all good. Jaden Rose coming back. So, I mean, there's a few things that maybe they're looking for one more. If they can get one more, great. If not, it's not the end of the world. Or is it more that they're not so sure about the defensive back in the 2024 class?
Jaden Rose is another big kid. It'd be awesome to see Jaden Rose on the field. I've been preaching that kid's praises since he got here, and we have not been able to see him yet. And still looking out for it.
I'm curious if it has anything to do with the wide receiver situation in 2023. Maybe it's an opportunity for Jacoby to get snaps on both sides of the ball once he gets to campus, kind of see where they like him best.
Would love to see him
out of high school, he's an electric guy when it comes to making plays on the offensive side of the ball. But it's not like he's a slouch on defense. Like he is a legit all-around football player and athlete to a T, and how that designation is supposed to be used. That may be a situation where the coaches maybe originally really wanted him to be a corner, but they saw that they had enough talent with the wide receivers they had coming in. But after what happened with Keon not being able to come into campus, then really only having one guy come in for 2023, that kind of opened the opportunity for Jacoby to potentially, the speculation, play on both sides during training camp, see what he picks up quicker, and get him more snaps there, and kind of evolve his game, a little bit faster than maybe having to sit him for a year at corner, if that was really just where they were expecting him to play.
No, that's fair. So hopefully Oklahoma can land at least one of them, and there might be someone else. It seems like that they're pretty dead set on trying to get at least one more defensive back in this class before everything's going. Before this fall and summer rolls around. Another position, I know there's been reports and talks about Jacob Lacey. I'm not going to speculate on what's going on, but it seems like there's some doubt with his season and upcoming availability. So, I expect Oklahoma to try to pick up another defensive lineman between now and summer. I'm not sure who it's going to be. Things change and things move, but it seems like Oklahoma's probably going to try to add a couple of more JUCO players to this team before this fall. So something to definitely keep an eye on. So again, be sure, if you're watching this video so far, it's only been 13 minutes and you haven't clicked off of it. If you haven't already, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, turn the notification bell on, and then follow us on all of our social medias. Everything's linked in the description below. So we'll continue moving on. So Oklahoma made a top 5 for a defensive end player. According to 247, not their composite, he's a 4-star edge player out of Rogers, Minnesota. Not many recruits coming out of Minnesota, let alone Oklahoma's recruiting them. At 6'4", 240 pounds, he released a top 5, and that top 5 is Minnesota, Miami, Oklahoma, Oregon, and K-State. So those are Oklahoma made that list. Oklahoma seems to be firmly in this race. Naturally, you'd think the Gophers have a pretty good. I would naturally think the Gophers have a pretty good spot, where they're at. But when you look at his top 5, it doesn't seem like distance is really playing much of a factor. I mean, the hometown school in Minnesota made the list, but his other, Oregon, Miami, Oklahoma, Kansas State, I mean, that's all over the country. So it doesn't seem like he's scared to go wherever he needs to be developed. With the 6'4", 240, you got to like that at least. Brandon, what do you think?
Yeah, 17 tackles for a loss last year on 47 total tackles, 4 sacks. Dude's got a 35-inch vertical, also plays basketball. You mentioned that size, 6'4", 240. To have a 35-inch vertical, I think it's really, really crazy. The dude could clearly, if he can't get to the quarterback, he at least has the ability to jump up and knock the ball down. His tape's pretty good. He's a talented football player. I don't think I agree with you. I think Minnesota, you have to think, probably has the lead just with them being the closest school, them being his home state, whatever. But you can't count on Oregon in this. We just saw what Oregon did to us in the Zadavian Sims recruiting battle. It looked like a battle that Oklahoma was going to win. Oregon came out and won, and ultimately landed his commitment. I don't think you can discredit or discount Oregon. I think it's going to be tough to beat out both Minnesota and Oregon. I think it's a 3-team race, really, but hopefully we win. It's going to be tough, but 17 tackles for loss on 47 tackles is crazy. A 35-inch vertical. Kid also plays basketball, very athletic. Would be a big get for Oklahoma. I hope we can pull it out.
I agree with everything both of you said. It's going to be what's really going to be interesting to me is that entire recruitment for that position over the next 2 or 3 months. Defensive ends, defensive line, how is that going to work out? At some point, there's probably going to be a max amount of players that they're going to take. Is it 4? Is it 6? Is it 8? Are they going to try to take, a hand, 2 or 3 guys at, interior and 2 or 3 guys on the outside at the edge position? I would assume they're going to maybe focus a little bit more on the interior because that's really where you're lacking a lot of depth. But Wyatt Gilmore, if he becomes a Sooner, I think kind of brings very similar traits to what we kind of expected or expect out of our Mason Thomas this upcoming season. He's very, very violent. He's fast, athletic, like Brandon mentioned. But will there be room is what I'm going to be interested in. Or is he the first guy that kind of gets that defensive line recruit stuff or commitment started potentially and get the rest of the guys to come in right after him? And then where does that put Oklahoma with other guys? Like a Williams Nwaneri, he's probably a take no matter what. But where, if you get 2 or 3 guys already committed at the edge position and he's still making his decision, like how does Oklahoma handle that? It'll be interesting to see what happens with defensive line overall because as fans we all know that's kind of the biggest opportunity for the coaching staff to really make a splash in recruiting. I just don't know where it's going to be and who's going to be the first. We'd all love it to be David Stone, but we don't know if that's for sure yet. You're muted.
Danny Okoye.
Yeah, Danny Okoye.
Okoye.
Speaking of that, he might not be too happy about the basketball game either. But anyway, so we can just have to get that one in there. Oh man, that's funny.
This guy. The innovative challenge is coming. You hate Brum.
I'm sure there's bound to be a few that will participate. So, but yeah, I mean, Gilmore, he seems to be a guy that I kind of feel like he wouldn't be recruited by Oklahoma with the previous staff. He seems to be more of a, he's a little bit of a more underrated guy, but programs like K-State and Minnesota would make a guy like that be a really good, all Big 12 kind of player. I mean, this is a guy that would be a nightmare for Oklahoma if he went to Kansas State and Oklahoma staying in the Big 12. It's just that type of feel that I feel like that K-State would do that to us. So Oklahoma's identifying, I think, better talent and not just following the ratings, which is good. So, but going on the opposite end of the spectrum, talking about great ratings, 2024 5-star linebacker Sammy Brown, 6'2", 230. He's officially released his visitor list or official visitor list for this summer. And as we're recording this, he just took an official visit to Tennessee this weekend. Next on the docket is Clemson, then Georgia, then Oklahoma, then Ohio State. And those are his 5 officials, and those are his top 5. And Jose, you brought it up, so I have to give you credit that, it seemed like Oklahoma originally was going to be the last visit. And Oklahoma pushed him up to do the Champ U barbecue, and then he's going to Ohio State for his last visit. I would agree, and I think we all said it. From an outside looking in, I'd rather be the last visit, just behind that. But you pointed out there must be some confidence in Oklahoma, what they're offering to him, to not really worry about Ohio State. And I will say also the fact that he's willing to move his schedule around Oklahoma probably speaks better than it does about Ohio State. What do you think, Jose?
Yeah, I would agree. And it shows, and Brandon said it, the confidence they have in the Champion Barbecue event and the people that are going to be attending that event. Because now, I mean, I can't remember exactly, so maybe you guys will know or can correct me here. I think Mike Hawkins is going to be there for Champion Barbecue. Devon Mitchell's supposed to be there for that event as well, if I remember correctly. So you've got really talented guys, and the leader, of the recruiting class, and Mike Hawkins, there to help recruit Sammy Brown, and potentially your, I guess, cornerstone of the class, and David Stone, who's also supposed to be there for Champion Barbecue. Because at this point, Oklahoma is the only planned official visit. I know that he's supposed to take visits to other schools before the OU visit, but at this point, Stone's only visit is to Oklahoma. That is confirmed. Is he kind of in the situation where this is really my last planned stop unless something comes up where, I'm going to let someone else kind of see if there's something that Oklahoma isn't offering, or maybe the visit doesn't go as planned, which isn't expected. It seems like Oklahoma blows everyone away when they have him on campus. So can you kind of get David Stone to commit early on in the visit and then have him help with Sammy Brown and can kind of get that mindset going of creating a powerhouse defense, and those two being the guys in the front to help build what Venables wants to do at Oklahoma. And obviously you've got to like where Oklahoma stands. It's still an uphill battle against Clemson and Georgia, but the fact that you're coming after them does speak volumes about what Oklahoma has been able to do to play the catch-up game here, because Clemson seemed like they were the runaway favorites for a long time.
Yeah, I mean, there's confidence in the Champion Barbecue, and I think we need to ride on that real quick, or at least to start. I think it's a big thing to ask him to move his visit when you had the last one, because like Brum said at the top, like you kind of think you want to be last. You want to be the last voice he hears, the last visit he sees, the last campus he sees, the last whatever. But for us to ask him to move that to be before Ohio State, I think is huge. I mean, there's huge confidence in that visit. They must blow these recruits away with the Champion specifically. That's an official visit. We host a lot of kids for that. They must be doing some crazy stuff at this event, and it's got to be awesome. With Sammy Brown, what I think is interesting is we've been saying for a long time that Oklahoma is not just a dark horse. We're legitimately in the running, and I think that's showing up here again. Where I do agree with you guys, I think it's going to be very tough to beat out Clemson and Georgia. But we're very much in it. But going back to what Danny Okoye said, he was originally turned off by Oklahoma based on its performance last season, which I think it's not hard to fault kids for that. I wish Sammy Brown was a 2025 kid. Truth be told, I wish he was a 2025 kid, because I think this season we're going to show tremendous growth, especially defensively. The linebackers are going to play a lot better. And going back to what Jose said originally about Sion Lawalaway, it's hard to beat out Deion Sanders as a corner, because he's one of the best to do it. That's a fact. But Brent Venables is one of the best linebacker coaches of all time. And unfortunately, it didn't show last season, being year one. I think this year we're going to have tremendous growth on defense, and especially at linebacker, which is why I wish Sammy Brown was a 2025 kid. Unfortunately, he's not. I still think Oklahoma can, blow the doors off him at the Champion Barbecue. We can still win out. Obviously, we're still very, very much in the running. Just hope that Champion Barbecue event's going to be pretty crazy.
It definitely sounds like it will be. But, at the end of the day, Oklahoma's at least getting a serious look, and coming off of a season going 6-7. Not many schools get the kind of look that Oklahoma's getting from a player like a Sammy Brown. When you look at his top five, the other schools had great years last year.
He also lifts a shit ton. I don't know if you guys have seen that clip of him on. Was it squatting or deadlifting? I can't remember exactly what he was doing a lot of weight on it.
It's ridiculous. So definitely a recruitment to be watching. Hopefully Oklahoma can make a move over the next month or so. And I think he's planning to commit sometime this summer, from my understanding. So I guess we'll have to see. So moving on probably to Brandon, and honestly, probably all of our favorite recruits, or at least jumps off the page for all of statistics, is Terry Bussey, 5'11", 180-pound wide receiver, or basically it should be an athlete. he's a 5-star, the number 1 athlete, the number 15 overall player in the class. And he just announced, or he went out with On3 that he's coming to the Champion Barbecue for his official with Oklahoma. And the following week, he's going to Texas on the 23rd. And Brandon, I will turn it over to you to let you list off the stat sheet, because it is absolutely insane what he does.
No, yeah, I mean, I've never seen anything like this. I'm a huge stat guy. This guy's page is like, it's literally some shit you can't even see. Like, I'm looking at it right now and kind of just blown away again. First of all, the dude had 2177 passing yards, so almost 2,200 pass yards, 26 passing touchdowns. Had 2,596 rushing yards, 46 touchdowns. Totaled 115 tackles on defense, 5 interceptions, 4 of which he brought back for touchdowns, 1 punt return touchdown, 3 kick return touchdowns. Last year, the dude accounted for 80 total touchdowns in one football season. That's the craziest shit I've ever seen in my life. From any stat sheet of all time. It's going to be hard pressed to find a stat sheet from anybody that we talk about in the future of the show that I think is going to stand up to that. Because that's 80 total touchdowns in a season combined I think that's the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life. This kid is being recruited as a receiver, and that's the only page on his stat sheet where he didn't put anything in, which I think is just speaks to his athleticism, that he's being recruited as a receiver without even playing the position in high school, according to the stat sheet. It just shows that they don't care. He clearly can do it all. They've seen it. He also plays baseball, basketball, and track and field. Like, the dude this might be the most athletic kid in the history of athletic kids that we've ever talked about. Like, this is really unmatched. This is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like this. Would love for Oklahoma to win out on this recruitment, especially beat out Texas. Terry Buzzy is a kid that, I mean, you imagine putting that kid at receiver or anywhere on the offense, really, because you can run so many crazy trick plays. Imagine a double reverse, or, you toss the ball behind the line of scrimmage and have him throw the ball because he's played quarterback. I mean, the dude, I feel like, is going to be a Swiss Army knife of offensive, options. A Christian McCaffrey, if you will, that can throw. Like, it's going to be crazy. Hopefully Oklahoma can win out.
And Brandon, I just want to put it in perspective. I looked up, they went 14-1 last year, so they played 15 games. 80 touchdowns times 6 points. On average, just, not even counting the extra point, he accounted for 32 points a game.
Those are basketball numbers.
32 points a game. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I mean, again, yeah, I think he's Christian McCaffrey who can throw is I think the best way to describe this kid's offensive ability. Like, there's not a lot you can't do. Of all the kids we talked about, it's hard not to be very, very, very excited about Terry Bussey. God, I would love Oklahoma to win out on this one.
Yeah, I don't know how much more you can add to that. He is one of the better prospects we've ever talked about. And it comes down to a Red River showdown to see who's going to – so far, those are his only 2 official visits that he's announced. So other teams could get added into the schedule. But as of right now, it's a Red River showdown for one of the best prospects around the country, regardless of his ranking. The fact that he's not just a straight-up 5-star everywhere seems insane after reading out that stat line. So I'm sure that the updated rankings, I hope that they put him at a consensus 5-star, because that just seems due at this point. If Oklahoma can win out, so we believe he's being recruited at wide receiver. We did as much digging as we possibly could right before the show. There's nothing that really indicates that he's being recruited on the defensive side of the ball for Oklahoma. It could be that he's just being recruited as basically a football player, and Venables and Levy and Valai and Hall and Jones and Murray are all just like, hey, dude, literally come to Oklahoma, and wherever we see you being the best fit as a freshman during camp, that's where we're going to stick you. If it's corner, if it's wide receiver, if it's running back, hell, if it's quarterback and you happen to be competing, let's see what happens. I don't think it would be quarterback given that they have the 5-star in Jackson Arnold, but I mean, you kind of, with a player like that, you would assume that the coaches, even with how rigid it seems like they are when it comes to how they recruit guys. They're pretty specific on where they want them to play and how they envision them coming in to the team, what position they'll play with, the room. You can't limit him. Yeah, Jacoby Johnson like that really his next closest comparison. Dude that can just do whatever he wants when the football's in his hands, and no one can really stop him at the high school level. And you got to give him the opportunity to show that he can do potentially the same at the college level. And if you have Jacoby Johnson and Terry Bussey on the same team, it doesn't matter what side of the ball they're going to play on, because it's going to be scary. Two elite athletes that just have seemingly really natural instincts for football, and when you have really good coaches to help them out and hone those instincts, their potential is unlimited.
Especially like you mentioned though, like with JA. Imagine you put Terry Bussey, you put Jacoby Johnson, you put Jaquez Petaway in the slot with Jackson Arnold at the quarterback spot. Like that's some shit that gets me excited.
It is pretty exciting to think about, for sure. So we'll see. I mean, the fact that Oklahoma's getting an official, you'd like to think that that they're one of the top, obviously one of his top teams. So Oklahoma against Texas, I like our odds going against Texas almost every time, but we'll have to see. So, but that's all I've got. Unless you guys have any final thoughts, Brandon, you want to do your individual challenge?
Yeah. So first of all, the first individual challenge is literally just tell Brum how much you hate him, because I can't stand that guy. So yeah, tell Brum you hate him. And then second of all, I thought about this today because I mean, it's not very creative. I had a decent amount of Miller Lights today on the lake, having a good time out there Memorial Day weekend. I hope we're all having a good time on this long weekend. But tonight I went to Brahms with my brother, and I was like, man, it's been a minute since I had Brahms, and I was excited about it. Got the chicken strip dinner. I always get the chicken strip dinner, number 10 at Brahms. I think it's the best thing on the menu. But what is the best thing on the Brahms menu for you? Hose, you have to dig deep on this because I don't know if you have Brahms out there in the Phoenix Land area. But yeah, Brahms, guys. We've all been there. We used to shut it down. We've been there. So Brahms, what's the best thing on the Brahms menu? And also tell Brum you hate him.
The best thing on the Brahms menu, I think, is the chocolate milkshake, in my opinion. Their ice cream is pretty darn good. But I'm not a huge ice cream fan, though. I don't know. Jose, what do you think? Do you have an idea?
I always get the chicken strip dinner, but
Hell yeah,
5 burgers. The bag of burgers, hell of a deal.
Mm-hmm. It is a pretty good deal.
Hard to beat. I mean, 5 burgers, $5. Granted, they're not huge burgers, but it's $5. You're getting 5 of them. And that should fill you up, unless you're Randy.
Randy, cheeseburger. He wants the double cheeseburgers. So, all right. Well, if you made it this far, be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn the notification bell on. Follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Apple, Spotify, and TikTok. Everything's linked in the description below. And we'll catch you guys on Wednesday.